What up,
We
YouTube?
chit.
We're back. Some NBA content. We've been kind of frozen, but we're back. We're back, man.
Back again.
All right. What are we talking about today, guys?
Well, we were talking about surprises and letdowns before we hit play. Who's a surprise to you, James?
I think at this point, I knew it was going to take some time to figure it out, but I will never pass on a chance to shit on Minnesota for making the Gobert trade and being 16 and 15 at this point. I mean, implementing a guy like that who's supposed to anchor your defense does take time. I get that, but just how poorly everyone else has played. Anthony Edwards is taking forever to get going. They don't do anything particularly well. And then how well the Jazz rotation guys have been playing. I know the Jazz have started to slide, but Vanderbilt looks good. Walker Kessler has more blocks per game than Gobert does. And I know blocks isn't everything, but that's hilarious.
It is hilarious.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. I do think the Jazz are going to go on a slide of epic proportion. I'm surprised by the Trailblazers. I didn't have any hope into them. I thought they would be down there with us, but they're playing some good basketball. That team plays with energy, and they know what they're doing. I guess bringing in those vets really helped them. And they might have got to steal in the draft in Shaden Sharp.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Are you surprised at all by how good New Orleans has lost a few in a row now, but I mean have they exceeded your expectations this early?
I would not say exceeding my expectations because I had high hopes for them. Like if I look at the roster, like knowing their roster in comparison to the rest of the league, that's the scariest team to me. That's the team I don't want to play because they're deep. They're 12, 13 man deep, and they all play it the same way. So I think that I would not be surprised if they overtake the Grizzlies and the Nuggets for the 1 seed. I do think they can go on a run.
Yeah, I just watched their game against the Bucks the other day, and really both teams showed a lot of promising signs. Even in a loss, yeah, and they didn't even have Brandon Ingram, and they were just throwing guys. The Bucks didn't have Middleton, so it was a little shorthanded both ways. But Alvarado, he's a hound dog, and then Herb Jones, he's not. Some of these rookies from last year have slumped a little bit, like Scotty Barnes has slumped a little bit. Mobley is still playing good defense, but slumped on offense. But Herb Jones is making a nice little step up.
Also, that Marshall kid they have on their team, he's a small forward, power forward. He's a good player. He's a good player for that team. He don't play with no ego. He's kind of the enforcer for him in a lot of ways. So I like that. The Davis kid they got from the G League Ignite, like he comes in there and he's like, all right, when it's my turn to play point, I will, but for now I'm just gonna run my lanes and play some defense. I like it.
Yeah,
it's an upgrade from that Nickel Walker-Alexander. Like they upgraded that position, they got better.
Very athletic bench too. They have guys just trying to yam it off the bench.
It's hard for backup centers in the league to match the energy of what's his name? The backup center from Texas, for New Orleans.
Jackson
Hayes. Like his energy gives a lot of backup centers problems, and that's why they do well, you know?
Yeah.
We shit on Memphis quite a bit also in the preseason for a lot of the trades they made
and the draft.
Yeah, in the draft. And I'm surprised to see that they're still up there.
And those draft picks are playing well. That's maybe I'll just stop doubting them because they've drafted very well. Obviously, the last 4 or 5 years. Some next draft, when they draft some guy no one's heard of from some Mid-American conference, we'll just accept it.
Is it fair to say at this point that Desmond Bane and Ja Morant might be the best backcourt in basketball?
That's been the talk. And what do you qualify? Because I've seen this argument where some try to say Tatum Brown, but neither of those guys are point guards, so I don't.
I consider them a 2-3. Like I can't consider Tatum as a guard.
Well, Booker is taking steps up, but Paul took such a step back that you can't really argue Paul Booker.
Curry's up here all the time, but you never know what Clay's going to show up.
Clay has not shown enough to be in that discussion this year, so. Yeah.
Lillard has nobody.
I mean, the only other team that I think you could outright say give them the biggest comp would be Garland and Mitchell. But I think their games are too similar that because Bane and Ja play differently, they play well off of each other.
That's true. That's probably 1 and 2 right there. But with Bane being hurt a little bit, that stopped a little of that momentum. But yeah, Ja just goes balls out basically all the time, which is awesome. I love to see it. But you do wonder with the guys like that, like Iverson. It was the same with Westbrook too, who would always go all out. You just wonder how long you can do that to your body. So hopefully he starts to pick his spots a little better.
Yeah, I also wonder how that plays out. I mean, being a Rockets fan, seeing Harden do it the whole year, and then you get to the playoffs when the refs kind of hide their whistles. How it's going to play into when the team's defense starts to structure around him a little more, if he's able to do that.
In a certain messed up way, I blame that on Ja. That's your fault for doing that because they brought help in for you. Like you, in my opinion, Tyus Jones is the best backup point guard in basketball. And he's there. And you're just doing so good job that he don't get to shine. And then they brought in a player like Kyle Anderson to play that point forward position for you, like how Diaw did for the Spurs, and you don't use him either. So I don't sympathize with you for overusing Ja at all.
A surprise I have, speaking of guards in the West, I think we have to give SGA some props. I mean, before the season, everyone was talking about whether he's going to be traded, whether he's going to be playing. But he's just been balling out. I just looked in total free throws. He's second in the NBA behind Giannis and getting to the line. And we always knew he was good and had this upside, but I didn't expect it to be this apparent with obviously Chet being out for season. I think a lot of people, myself included, figured they would rest. I mean, they've been doing that to Shea for like 2 years now, not playing him fully. So it's been nice to see him unleashed, and now it's to the point where you can't trade him. That's your franchise cornerstone now.
I 100% agree with you, but I also feel like if that's the case, then you have to start drafting better. Because you have a lot of picks and a lot of young players there, but a lot of them aren't as good as we thought they were going to be. Like, no disrespect to Poku and those guys, but when you look at another team like the Rockets, who are also in a rebuild, like, we've hit on our picks. Like, we have more star power than OKC, I feel like. I think it's definitely within the realm of possibility. Jalen Green's the most improved player of the year. Like, he took that much of a leap.
He's 19th in free throw attempts, which is promising this young. Although Paulo's top 10, that's insane.
That is insane. But he's also like more of their offense than what Jalen is to us.
Yeah.
His usage rate has to be much higher, I would assume so. I like Jalen Green. I think he's balling. I see us at the very least, at least a one-time scoring leader there. Like, he scores as easy as it. The only person make it hard on him sometimes is him and his thinking.
Overthinking, yeah. I do got to give credit where it's due because I always shit on this team for everything. The Sacramento Kings at home are amazing. At away, I don't know what they are doing away. But yeah, I did not expect y'all to be 6 right now in the West. And I mean, y'all are playing. It's actually fun to watch some of y'all's games whenever I catch them here and there. I'm not gonna watch y'all completely, but yeah. And then for me, my biggest disappointment, and I mean, I'm kind of glad they're a disappointment, but the Mavericks, like, you really just doing what you did last year without Brunson, just Luka ball and hoping it works, and it's really not.
Dude, but they got a superstar in Christian Wood. What are you talking about?
Who they don't play in crunch time.
Yeah, because he can't play defense. I'm telling you, I was not just talking shit about that guy. He is the worst defender I've ever seen in the league. Like, he doesn't know when, and where he's supposed to be somewhere.
He'll get one block and you overlook it, and then 3 games later. Another, I know I put them up higher in the East, though, is the Washington Wizards.
Yeah, they are a disappointment.
Yeah, like, they've only had 12 wins. I didn't expect them to be like top of the East, but I also didn't have them out of like top 10.
They're definitely there they're sniffing a bubble, and they can get there. but it's the same. They're having the problem we all knew they would have. Is y'all need a point guard? Y'all need a playmaker.
Yeah,
you have a bunch of play finishers, no playmakers.
They're stuck in mediocrity zone, which is the worst place to be because they were 11-10, and then they've lost, I think, 10 straight. I think, I don't know. I think do you have a lot of assets on your team that other teams would give you good trade compensation for? I think you blow it up because you're only a few games from the bottom. You're only 3 games behind Charlotte in the East in the loss column. So you're closer to the bottom, or I guess in the win column, whatever. But yeah, you're closer to the bottom than the top. So at this point, you're not like best case scenario. If you go all in this year as the Wizards, you make the 9 or 10 seed. If you get lucky, you somehow win a play-in series, and then you play Milwaukee or Boston in round 1 and get swept. So would you rather have that or a chance for a loaded draft class?
I'm going to go ahead and like you said, I'm going to blow it up. You got too many people on that team who could probably land you a late first-round pick. A late
Kuzma
first round. Kuzma could. Hachimura could. Advia can. Porzingis. Like, all those guys can probably get you a mid to late first-round pick. If you're going to suck this year, just suck this year and get those picks.
How much I'm working for this? I swear my dreams are too important.